Welcome back to Wiz Vibes Talks.
Good to be here.
Today we're diving deep into the life and times of a truly monumental figure from ancient India, Chanakya. We'll be drawing from excerpts of the life and teachings of Chanakya to sort of unravel his story and understand why his wisdom, well, it continues to resonate even now.
Exactly. Think of this as your curated journey, through the life of a man who was not just a brilliant strategist, but also a profound thinker. We'll explore his pivotal role in shaping history and really try to extract the timeless lessons embedded in his experiences and teachings.
Right. Chanakya, also known as Kautilya and Vishnugupta, we'll get into the names later, was this multifaceted genius. A teacher, a kingmaker, a statesman, and really the architect behind the Mauryan Empire, which became, well, one of the largest on the Indian subcontinent.
He's often compared to Machiavelli, isn't he?
He is, but his influence arguably spanned a much broader spectrum. Our mission today is to chronologically trace his extraordinary life, understand his crucial role in establishing the Mauryan dynasty, and, most importantly, uncover the enduring relevance of his insights for us today.
And we should definitely touch upon his key works, the Arthashastra and the Chanakya, still studied centuries later, which is amazing in itself.
Absolutely. So let's start right at the beginning. Who was this remarkable individual in his formative years?
Okay, so Chanakya was born into a Brahmin family. These were traditionally the custodians of knowledge and learning in ancient India.
Right, the scholars.
Exactly. Historical accounts suggest his origins might be in either Takshashila, which was a really famous university town up in the northwest, or possibly in Magadha, the heartland of the Nanda dynasty he'd later overthrow.
So a bit of uncertainty there.
Yeah, his early life is quite steeped in legend. But what seems clear is he received an exceptional education, very likely at the University of Takshashila itself.
And Takshashila wasn't just any school, was it? It was a major intellectual hub.
Oh, absolutely. Takshashila was this vibrant center of intellectual exchange. It drew scholars, students from all over the region, maybe even further afield. Chanakya's education there was incredibly comprehensive.
Like what sort of subjects?
Well, he mastered the Vedas, naturally, but his studies went way beyond that. Economics, the complexities of politics, the art of warfare, medicine, astrology. There's even speculation he might have been exposed to Greek and Persian ideas filtering into India.
Wow, quite the Renaissance man, centuries early.
You could say that. This incredibly broad knowledge base became the absolute bedrock of his political philosophy, and later his masterpiece, the Arthashastra.
Okay, you mentioned he's known by several names. What's the story there? Vishnugupta, Chanakya, Kautilya.
Right. So Vishnugupta was probably his given name, the one he was born with. Chanakya is believed to be a patronymic meaning derived from his father's name, Chanak. So, son of Chanak.
Okay, that makes sense.
And Kautilya, that one's interesting. It's thought to be linked to the Sanskrit word kutila, which can mean crooked, or perhaps more accurately, shrewd.
Ah, so reflecting his personality or methods.
Exactly. It likely reflected his sharp intellect, his strategic mind, and maybe his sometimes, shall we say, unconventional approach to getting things done. So you have Vishnugupta, the person, Chanakya, the son, and Kautilya, the embodiment of that sharp strategic mind. All the same guy.
Fascinating how the names themselves tell a story. There's also that rather dramatic legend about his birth involving teeth.
Yes, that's a striking one. Legend says Chanakya was born with a full set of teeth.
Really?
Yeah, and this was seen as a prophecy, a sign he was destined to become a king. But his parents, maybe wanting him to follow a scholarly path, or perhaps just wary of royalty, are said to have broken his teeth.
Ouch.
Shit brutal, yeah. But this act supposedly led to a revised prophecy. He wouldn't be king himself, but he'd be the power behind the throne, the one who makes a king.
Which is exactly what happened. It's like a foreshadowing.
It's precisely, a premonition almost.
So, this highly educated scholar, what was the event, the spark, that really pushed him from academia into, well, empire building?
That would be the critical turning point. His profound humiliation at the court of King Dhana Nanda. He was the ruler of the powerful Nanda dynasty in Magadha.
Right, the dominant power at the time.
Definitely. Chanakya, as a learned Brahmin, likely visited the capital, Pataliputra, maybe seeking royal patronage, maybe hoping to offer counsel.
But it didn't go well at all.
Not even close. The specifics vary a bit in different accounts, but the core story is consistent. Chanakya was deeply insulted, disgraced, and basically kicked out of the royal assembly by King Dhana Nanda.
What exactly did the king object to?
One version says the king was disgusted by Chanakya's appearance. Some descriptions mention physical imperfections, maybe the broken teeth during an almsgiving ceremony. just dismissed him publicly. Another story, mostly from Jain texts, says Chanakya actually tried to sit on the king's empty throne while waiting, a massive breach of etiquette.
Oh, that would definitely cause a scene.
Big time. Either way, he was forcefully removed, publicly ridiculed. Imagine that a respected scholar treated like dirt by the most powerful king around.
How did Chanakya react? I imagine he wasn't pleased.
Pleased is not the word. His reaction was pure, unadulterated fury, intense rage, and a burning desire for revenge. It said he swore a solemn public oath right then and there. He would completely uproot the Nanda dynasty. Total destruction.
A pretty serious vow.
Extremely. One really dramatic version says he immediately untied his shika, that's the traditional hair-tuft Brahmin men wear, a symbol of their vows, and swore he wouldn't retie it until the Nandas were gone.
Wow, a powerful symbol.
Absolutely. It signified total, unwavering dedication to revenge. Another account mentions him breaking his sacred thread in anger, uttering a curse. These acts just underscore the depth of his fury and how pivotal this moment was.
So this one insult, this personal humiliation, it transformed him from scholar to revolutionary strategist.
That's exactly it. It was the crucible. It forged him into this relentless strategist, consumed by one goal: the complete annihilation of Dhana Nanda and his entire dynasty, root and stem.
He must have had to get out of Pataliputra fast.
Immediately. The king ordered his arrest, but he managed to escape. From that point on, his life had one focus: bring down the Nandas. He famously declared he wouldn't rest, wouldn't find peace until they were utterly destroyed. This personal quest for vengeance basically set the stage for a massive power shift in India.
It's incredible, a personal slight with such huge historical consequences. Now, to pull this off, he needed someone, right? A leader he could guide. This is where Chandragupta Maurya comes in.
Exactly. Chanakya was shrewd. He knew he couldn't take down the mighty Nanda Empire alone. He needed a capable leader, someone with potential, maybe even someone he could use as a sort of, well, puppet king initially, acting on his guidance. So he began searching.
Looking for the right person.
Meticulously evaluating candidates, their strengths, their weaknesses. Legend even says he initially considered someone connected to the Nandas themselves.
Really? Who was that?
A young prince named Pabata. According to some accounts, possibly a son of Dhana Nanda himself, maybe from a different branch of the family, Chanakya thought about using him to incite rebellion from within.
An inside job.
Sort of. He apparently befriended Pabata, tried to gauge his ambition, maybe nudge him towards seizing the throne. But then fate, or maybe just Chanakya's incredible intuition, led him to someone else, Chandragupta.
What was Chandragupta's situation at this point? Was he royalty?
His early life is, again, more legend than hard fact. Probably a young man, late teens, early 20s. Some texts hint at a noble connection, maybe a minor clan, distantly related to earlier rulers, but he wasn't living like a prince.
So not in the palace.
No. One very common story says he was raised by a foster father, a simple hunter, way up in the northwest, far from the Nanda court.
And the story of their first meeting is quite famous, isn't it? Involving a game.
This is a very vivid anecdote. Chanakya, supposedly traveling in disguise, doing reconnaissance, comes across these young boys playing a game. One boy is acting as king, dishing out justice, punishments, with this amazing natural authority.
And that was Chandragupta.
That was him. Even just playing, he had this regal air, this command that just grabbed Chanakya's attention. The game apparently involved the king ordering limbs of mock robbers to be cut off, then magically put back on. A weird mix of strictness and charisma.
Strange game.
Definitely. But Chanakya saw past the game. He saw the raw potential of a real ruler. He thought, this kid has what it takes.
It's like he had a talent radar.
Yeah.
Spotting an emperor in a kid's game. Did he act immediately?
Pretty much instantly. He supposedly went to Chandragupta's foster father, offered him a hefty sum, maybe 1,000 gold coins, to take the boy under his wing, promised to train him for a profession worthy of his potential.
So he essentially bought him.
That's one way to put it, according to that story. Some Jain traditions even suggest Chanakya had a hand in Chandragupta's birth somehow, making their meeting seem even more fated. But the key point is, Chanakya recognized those inherent regal qualities and knew this was the leader he needed for his revenge plan.
But just seeing potential wasn't enough, surely. Chanakya needed proof of Chandragupta's, well, resolve, his willingness to do whatever it took. There's that pretty grim test story, right?
Ah, yes, the test. It's quite extreme and, frankly, ethically challenging. Legend says Chanakya devised it to really gauge the determination, maybe the ruthlessness, of both Chandragupta and that other contender, Pabata.
What was the test?
He gave each of them a woolen thread with a special amulet tied securely onto it. The secret task for each was remove the other guy's amulet but without breaking the thread and, crucially, without waking him up.
Sounds tricky. How did Pabata do?
Not so well, apparently. Pabata tried to be careful, maybe untie the knot, maybe try to subtly cut the thread while Chandragupta slept. But he couldn't do it without breaking the thread or waking him. He failed. Maybe he hesitated, didn't want to risk hurting Chandragupta.
Okay, so Pabata failed. What about Chandragupta? His approach was different.
Radically different and brutal. When it was his turn, Chanakya told him to get Pabata's amulet while Pabata was asleep. Chandragupta's solution. He drew his sword and just decapitated Pabata in his sleep.
He what?
Decapitated him. Then obviously removing the amulet without breaking the thread or waking Pabata was, well, easy.
That's horrific. Chillingly ruthless.
It is. It's a deeply disturbing story, and we have to stress many historians think it's probably apocryphal, a later legend added to really hammer home Chandragupta's supposed decisiveness.
Right, maybe not literally true, but serving a narrative purpose.
Exactly. True or not, it powerfully illustrates the unwavering, almost terrifying resolve and strategic, albeit merciless, thinking attributed to Chandragupta. It convinced Chanakya in this narrative that Chandragupta had the absolute determination, the willingness to take any measure needed to overthrow an empire. No sentimentality, no conventional morality holding him back when the goal was clear.
A quality Chanakya probably saw as necessary for the job ahead.
Precisely. Chanakya likely saw this lack of hesitation, this laser focus on the objective, whatever the cost, as essential. He saw this mix of ambition, courage, intelligence, and this apparent ruthlessness. Plus, Chanakya, being a Brahmin scholar, probably didn't want the throne himself. He needed someone with the right background. Kshatriya, the warrior caste and the charisma to lead armies, command loyalty as king.
A strategist behind the throne.
Exactly. Chandragupta fit the bill perfectly. Chanakya's motivation was likely twofold. Personal revenge against the Nandas, yes, but also a bigger ambition to establish a just, effective rule, replacing what he saw as the corrupt Nanda regime. Chandragupta was the instrument for both.
A classic combination. The strategist and the leader. So, once Chandragupta was chosen, the real work began training him.
Absolutely. Chanakya set up what you could call an intensive leadership boot camp. They probably went back to Takshashila. It was safer there, outside Nanda control, and it was Chanakya's old stomping ground, the center of learning.
How long did this take?
Around 7 years, according to tradition. 7 years of rigorous, systematic training in everything needed for kingship. Military tactics, statecraft, diplomacy, the philosophies of ruling effectively.
Sounds incredibly thorough.
It had to be. Chanakya taught him political strategy, drawing on old texts, the Shastras, but mixing in his own innovative ideas from his vast knowledge and observations. This is likely when the core ideas of the Arthashastra were first developed and taught to Chandragupta.
So learning how to run a kingdom, wage war, manage money.
All of it. Administration, warfare, building a treasury, using spies, intelligence networks, all the vital skills for grabbing power and keeping it. Chanakya was basically forging Chandragupta into the perfect tool, not just for revolution, but for ruling afterwards.
It wasn't just theory then, it was practical training for the real world.
Definitely. And Chanakya wasn't just teaching. He was also busy securing resources, forging alliances. You can't overthrow an empire without an army, and armies cost money.
Right, logistics. How did they fund this?
Chanakya worked on building a war chest, devising military plans. There's a fascinating legend, probably mythical, but it makes a point that Chanakya found a hidden treasure, or maybe even used alchemy to create gold.
Alchemy? Seriously?
Like I said, probably myth. Another story says he could multiply gold coins. The point these legends make is that Chanakya was incredibly resourceful, determined, maybe even a bit mystical in his ability to get the money they needed for this huge undertaking.
So he was investing heavily in Chandragupta, both educationally and financially.
Exactly. By the time Chandragupta was a young adult, he had the knowledge and a growing army, thanks to Chanakya's planning and fundraising. Chanakya apparently recruited soldiers from the northwest, areas historically resistant to Magadha's rule. He rallied local rulers, factions unhappy with the Nandas, positioning Chandragupta as a liberator. Takshashila, being a frontier region, was perfect for this.
Beyond the academics and military training, did Chanakya try to shape Chandragupta's character too?
Oh, undoubtedly. Chanakya himself was known for strict discipline, unwavering focus. He surely instilled those values in Chandragupta. Discipline, patience, overthrowing an empire is a long game, right?
Takes time.
Years. So Chanakya taught him the value of persistence, not getting discouraged by setbacks, keeping the eye on the prize. Chanakya lived frugally, totally dedicated. That example must have influenced his pupil deeply, shaping his character as a future ruler.
It sounds like a total transformation, mind, skills, character.
It was. Chanakya taught ethical lessons, though always pragmatic ones, alongside strategy. Loyalty to the mission, sometimes needing ruthless measures for the greater good, listening to wise counsel. Chandragupta learned when to be compassionate, when to be tough, all focused on that ultimate goal.
Okay, so after years of prep, the stage was set, the confrontation with the Nanda Empire. How did they kick it off?
Well, it wasn't smooth sailing initially. The overthrow was a protracted campaign, stages. The first invasion around 321 BCE, it actually failed.
Really? After all that preparation?
Yeah, they attacked, probably from the northwest where they'd built their forces, but the Nanda defense was stronger than expected. Chandragupta's forces got crushed in an early battle. They had to retreat, even disband the army for a while. A major setback, deeply discouraging.
Wow. How did Chanakya handle that failure? He seems like someone who learns quickly.
This is where his adaptability, his sheer brilliance really shines. Here's that famous...
This is her porridge story.
That's the one. While they were in hiding, regrouping after the defeat, they overheard a village woman scolding her child. The kid burned his fingers trying to eat hot rice porridge from the middle. The mother told him off, saying he was foolish, like attacking the heart of enemy power first. A wise person eats from the cooler edges.
Huh. Strategic advice from a bowl of porridge.
Exactly. Chanakya, being Chanakya, instantly got the analogy. He realized their mistake. They'd attacked Pataliputra, the Nanda capital, the heavily fortified center, instead of securing the weaker surrounding areas first. They were the kid sticking his hand in the hot middle.
So he completely changed the strategy.
Immediately, shifted focus, the new plan, methodically conquer the border provinces, the smaller vulnerable kingdoms around Magadha first, isolate the heartland.
Attack from the edges inward.
Precisely. Cut off the Nanda Empire from resources, communication, potential allies. They used a mix of military wins in the periphery and alliances with local rulers. Many probably disliked the Nandas anyway and saw Chandragupta as a better bet. Their forces grew, their influence spread.
And Chanakya wasn't just directing battles, I assume?
Oh no, he was using everything. Diplomacy to win allies, subterfuge to create chaos within the Nanda ranks, bribery to flip loyalties, a massive spy network for intelligence and destabilization. It was a war of attrition.
A multi-pronged attack.
Totally. Finally, after systematically weakening the Nandas and securing the surrounding territories, Chandragupta, guided by Chanakya, launched a second, much more calculated march on Pataliputra.
And this time, success.
Yes. Around 321 BCE, Chandragupta's army, now much stronger, reached Pataliputra and decisively beat the weakened, isolated Nanda forces. King Dhana Nanda was overthrown. Most accounts say he was killed, ending the Nanda dynasty for good.
How was he killed? Did Chandragupta do it?
Legends vary. Some say Chandragupta killed him personally, others say he died during the siege. Either way, the Nanda line was finished.
That must have been an incredible moment for Chanakya. His vow finally fulfilled.
Huge. And Chanakya, ever the pragmatist, made sure the Nanda power was totally dismantled. No chance of a comeback. He was especially keen on securing the Nanda treasury, massive wealth needed for the new regime.
Right, money is power.
There's a rather ruthless detail in some texts about a fisherman who accidentally found the hidden Nanda treasure and told Chanakya to keep it secret, ensure no future claims. Chanakya reportedly had the fisherman killed right after confirming the location.
Wow, that's cold.
It shows the lengths he'd go to secure his goals, protect the new state. But yeah, with the Nandas gone, the treasure secured, Chanakya's vow was complete. He could, symbolically, finally retie his shika.
So the Nandas are gone, Chandragupta is king. But overthrowing them was just step one, right? Building an empire is the next challenge.
Exactly. Toppling the Nandas was huge, a testament to their strategy and leadership, but it was just the foundation. Now came consolidation, managing the vast territory and strategic expansion. Chanakya stepped into the role of prime minister, chief strategist, the architect of the new Mauryan state.
And the empire grew rapidly under Chandragupta, with Chanakya guiding things.
It did. Significant expansion. A key moment was the conflict with Seleucus and Nicator, one of Alexander the Great's successors, around 305 BCE.
He controlled territories in the northwest.
Yeah, areas Alexander had conquered. There was a war, but the resulting treaty was very favorable to Chandragupta, largely thanks to Chanakya's diplomacy. Seleucus gave up a huge chunk of land, parts of modern Afghanistan, Pakistan, in exchange for 500 war elephants.
Elephants were a big deal militarily then.
Hugely valuable.
Yeah.
This treaty dramatically expanded the empire westward. Some sources even mention a marriage alliance, Chandragupta marrying Seleucus's daughter to seal the deal. And Seleucus sent an ambassador, Megasthenes, to Pataliputra. His writings give us valuable insights into the Mauryan court.
So by the end of Chandragupta's reign, how big was the empire?
Massive. From the Himalayas down to central India, across to Bengal. A truly vast realm, setting the stage for even greater expansion under Ashoka later.
And Chanakya wasn't just advising on war and diplomacy, he was organizing the state itself.
Absolutely a critical role. He designed the machinery, a highly centralized administration based in Pataliputra, a structured tax system, and a strong treasury, the kosha vital for funding everything, robust law enforcement, and that famous, elaborate espionage system to gather intelligence and nip threats in the bud. Plus, a huge, well-equipped, loyal standing army.
It sounds incredibly organized, almost modern in some ways. I remember hearing a strange story about Chanakya trying to protect Chandragupta with poison.
Yes, that's a well-known, rather dramatic tale. Chanakya, fearing assassination attempts, especially poisoning, started giving Chandragupta tiny, gradually increasing doses of poison in his food.
Seriously, to build immunity.
Exactly, like Mithridatism, trying to make him resistant, a risky strategy for sure.
Sounds incredibly dangerous. Shows the kind of threats they face.
It does, and tragically, according to the story, it went wrong. Chandragupta, not knowing about the poison, once shared his meal with his pregnant queen, Durdara. She was near term. She ate the poisoned food. Chanakya realized too late. He rushed in, but couldn't save the queen. In a desperate move to save the heir, he performed an emergency C-section, delivering the baby, Bindusara. But Queen Durdara died.
That's horrific. So Bindusara survived because of Chanakya's intervention.
Yes, and his name, Bindusara, is said to come from this, either meaning spots from traces of poison, or maybe strength of a drop, the drop of poison he survived. It's a grim story, but it highlights Chanakya's extreme vigilance for the dynasty's survival, even through morally gray actions and tragic accidents.
A dark story, but it underlines his dedication. And this system he built, it really lasted, didn't it? Providing the foundation for rulers like Ashoka.
Precisely. Ashoka later shifted things ethically with Buddhism, but the fundamental administrative, economic, military framework Chanakya built under Chandragupta, that provided the stability and resources for the empire to reach its absolute peak.
Now, amidst all this empire building and high-stakes politics, Chanakya also managed to write down his ideas. Let's talk about the Arthashastra.
Right, his magnum opus. The title translates roughly as the science of wealth or the science of polity. It shows the scope, economics, and governance. It's generally thought he wrote or compiled it during or just after Chandragupta's reign, drawing directly on his experience building the Mauryan state. Basically, a practical manual for rulers on how to govern effectively, gain power, and create prosperity.
And it covers a huge range of topics, doesn't it? Not just politics.
Incredibly comprehensive. 15 books covering pretty much everything. Statecraft, law, justice, economic policy, taxes, agriculture, trade, foreign policy, diplomacy, warfare, defense, intelligence, espionage, even social welfare and the king's duties to the people.
Did he invent all this?
Not entirely. He synthesized and systematized existing knowledge from older Indian traditions, but added his own profound insights and innovations based on his real-world experience. It's this massive compendium on statecraft and achieving artha, which means wealth, prosperity, but also political power and stability.
What's the general tone? Is it idealistic or more pragmatic?
Overwhelmingly pragmatic, often unsentimental, very realistic. Chanakya was a political realist. His advice is grounded in what we'd call realpolitik, pursuing national interests based on power and security, not ideals.
For instance?
Well, he openly advises setting up extensive spy networks, monitoring everyone from officials to citizens. He even discusses using secret agents and, if absolutely necessary for the state's stability, political assassinations and other covert ops.
That sounds quite ruthless. It's why he gets compared to Machiavelli, I suppose.
Exactly. That pragmatic approach to the ends justifying the means for the sake of a strong, prosperous state is a key reason for the comparison.
So it's a very practical guide to power, even if the methods are questionable.
It is. But it's crucial to add, while it advises on potentially ruthless tactics, it also strongly emphasizes the king's duty to ensure the people's welfare and security, Yogoshima. So the tough measures are framed within the goal of creating a stable, secure, prosperous realm for the citizens. It's not purely amoral. There's an underlying responsibility.
Do we know exactly when it was written and how it was used in the Mauryan Empire?
That's debated by scholars. Traditionally attributed to Chanakya and reflecting Chandragupta's time, the exact text we have today might have been finalized or added to in later centuries. Ancient texts often evolved, but its core ideas definitely reflect Chanakya's thinking and profoundly influenced Mauryan governance under Chandragupta and his successors.
And it was lost for centuries, wasn't it? Its rediscovery was a big deal.
Huge deal. After the Mauryan decline, it vanished for centuries. Then, in 1905, an Indian scholar, R. Shamsastri, found an old palm leaf manuscript. He translated it, published it in 1915, bringing this incredible work back to light. It's amazing, a treatise on governance from over 2,000 years ago, still studied today in politics, economics, even business strategy. Its rediscovery really changed our view of ancient Indian political thought.
Absolutely. A landmark rediscovery. Now, Chanakya is also linked to the Chanakya Niti. How is that different from the Arthashastra?
Good question. The Chanakya Niti, or Niti Shastra, is quite different. Format, audience, focus. Arthashastra is a detailed treatise on statecraft and economics. Chanakya Niti is a collection of short, memorable aphorisms, maxims, wise couplets, nuggets of wisdom on life, ethics, conduct, governance.
So more like collected wisdom for life, not just for running a state.
Exactly. Niti means policy, conduct, ethics. Think of it as easily digestible wisdom for navigating life and leadership, maybe for a broader audience than just kings and ministers, scholars, administrators, maybe even everyday people seeking guidance. It covers relationships, personal behavior, choosing friends, how rulers should act, general ethics, often with that same pragmatic, sometimes cynical Chanakya flavor.
Can you give an example? What kind of sayings are in it?
Sure. A famous one is, never share your deepest secrets with anybody, will ultimately destroy you. Kind of cautious, maybe cynical about human nature, emphasizes discretion.
Okay. Practical advice.
Another well-known one, a person should not be excessively honest or straightforward. Straight trees are cut down first, and excessively honest people are often taken advantage of first. Again, pragmatic, advising shrewdness.
Very direct. Almost Machiavellian again.
It can seem that way, but it also has positive advice, the importance of education, qualities of good leadership, value of virtue. It's just that the really memorable ones often have that sharp edge of practical, worldly wisdom, reflecting his understanding of human complexities.
And how did this collection come together? Was it definitely written by Chanakya?
Its origins are less clear than the Arthashastra. Traditionally attributed to him, maybe collected in his later years, drawing on his experience in earlier traditions. Or maybe some sayings were attributed to him later because they fit his philosophy. Either way, it definitely resonates with the spirit of the Arthashastra, that deep understanding of psychology, practical ethics, leadership.
Okay, so Chanakya served Chandragupta brilliantly. What happened when Chandragupta's son Bindusara took the throne? Did Chanakya retire?
No, he stayed on. Chandragupta abdicated around 297 BCE, embraced Jainism. His son Bindusara became emperor, and Chanakya, though getting older, continued as the prime advisor, a figure of immense influence.
Providing continuity, I imagine.
Absolutely. It ensured a smooth transition, kept the established policies running. Bindusara was probably young, inheriting this huge empire, so Chanakya's guidance would have been invaluable.
Did the empire continue to thrive under Bindusara with Chanakya's help?
Yes. Under Chanakya's mentorship, Bindusara maintained the empire's integrity, even expanded it further south into the Deccan region. Some accounts, like from the Tibetan writer Taranatha, credit Chanakya with helping Bindusara control territory from coast to coast. Shows his continued strategic influence.
But his long life had to end eventually. How did he die? Are the accounts clear?
Not entirely clear. The accounts vary and legend gets mixed in. One very dramatic story involves palace intrigue, jealousy from another minister under Bindusara.
Ah, court politics.
Exactly. A minister named Subandhu supposedly got jealous of Chanakya's power and influence. He plotted to undermine him with the emperor.
How? What did he do?
This is the really nasty part of the story. Subandhu allegedly poisoned Bindusara's mind, falsely claiming Chanakya was responsible for his mother Queen Durara's death years before.
Oh, using that tragic incident against him?
Yes. Bindusara, likely unaware of the full story of his birth, was supposedly furious, distraught. Subandhu might have even gotten some palace nurses to confirm parts of the story about the surgery, making it seem credible.
That's incredibly cruel given everything Chanakya did.
A tragic irony, if true. In this version, the elderly Chanakya, heartbroken by the emperor's suspicion after years of loyalty, didn't even defend himself. He retired and chose to end his life by fasting, starving himself to death in sorrow or protest.
How awful. Did Bindusara find out the truth?
The story says he did. Eventually realized Subandhu lied, deeply regretted his anger. sent messengers to beg Chanakya to return, but it was too late. Chanakya had died or was too weak. A darker twist says Subandhu, fearing exposure, went to Chanakya pretending remorse, but actually murdered him, maybe setting him on fire.
Good grief. Yeah, that's a very dramatic end. Is that the only version?
No. There's a less sensational, maybe more plausible account. Chanakya simply retired from court in his old age, sought a quieter life, and passed away peacefully in the forest around 283 BCE. The truth, maybe somewhere in between, or one is pure legend. But his incredibly impactful life ended during Bindusara's reign.
What an extraordinary life. Let's take a moment then to reflect on his legacy. It's clearly immense and lasts even today.
Profound, extensive, multifaceted, absolutely. The immediate impact was the Mauryan Empire itself, vast, well-organized, efficiently run, a direct result of his strategic and administrative genius. The systems he built allowed it to thrive under Bindusara and Ashoka.
And his name itself became legendary, right? A symbol of wisdom.
Totally. Within Indian culture, he's almost mythic. The symbol of wise counsel, political smarts, shrewdness. Even now, calling someone a Chanakya is high praise for their strategic thinking. His name is deeply embedded.
And the rediscovery of the Arthashastra boosted his global reputation too.
Definitely. That rediscovery in the 20th century was pivotal. It showed the world the sophistication of ancient Indian political and economic thought, cementing his image as this pioneering political scientist, economist, strategist, way ahead of his time.
He also pops up in literature and modern media quite a bit.
Consistently. In classical plays like Mudrakshasa, which shows him masterminding Chandragupta's rise. In modern novels, TV shows, films, often portrayed as brilliant, strategic, sometimes morally complex, reflecting the nuances in his own writings.
It seems his legacy is complex admiration for the wisdom, but also some criticism for the ruthlessness.
Yes, there's a duality. Praise for his wisdom, his vision of a strong state, his understanding of human nature, criticized by some for the ruthless methods, the spying, intrigue, justifying violence for state stability. This moral complexity makes him endlessly fascinating, keeps the discussion going.
But regardless of debate, his core ideas are still studied widely.
Absolutely. In political science, economics, international relations, business management, leadership studies, his insights into power, diplomacy, economic management, leadership, they feel timeless. His ultimate legacy is perhaps the idea that sound strategy, wise counsel, understanding human behavior, these are fundamental for building nations, for any major undertaking.
Speaking of that relevance, it really is striking how ideas from over 2,000 years ago still resonate. How do Chanakya's teachings, especially to Chandragupta, connect to today's world? Politics, diplomacy, leadership.
It's because he tapped into fundamental truths about human nature, power, statecraft. In political thought, the Arthashastra is this early, comprehensive framework for governance, power, the state-citizen relationship. His emphasis on good administration, a stable economy, justice, these are still core principles globally. And his pragmatic approach to foreign relations, balance of power, national interest, that's basically realpolitik, still hugely influential today.
His diplomatic strategies seem almost modern, too.
They really do. The Rajamandala theory analyzing neighborly relations as allies, enemies, neutrals, and concentric circles still offers insights into international dynamics, alliance building, and his four tools, Sam, conciliation, Dam, incentives, Dan, punishment of force, Bed, division, discord among enemies. These are the basic levers nations still use, maybe just phrased more bluntly by Chanakya. Negotiation, aid, sanctions, alliances, covert actions, it's all there.
What about military strategy and handling crises? Lessons for today?
Definitely. His focus on intelligence, espionage, understanding enemy weaknesses, exploiting psychology and warfare, very modern applications. That Porter story illustrates adapting strategy, avoiding direct clashes with core strength early on. And his focus on logistics, a strong economy backing the military, troop loyalty, timeless military principles. His approach to crisis management, learning from failure, adapting quickly, staying focused on the goal that's crucial for any leader, not just military.
And his economic ideas and governance principles, they seem quite advanced for his time.
Remarkably so. His writings on taxation, promoting trade, investing in agriculture and infrastructure, sound fiscal management show a sophisticated understanding. His advocacy for a kind of welfare state, the ruler's responsibility for citizens' security and well-being, Yogeshima, echoes modern ideas of social responsibility. And his warnings against corruption, that analogy of officials being like fish drinking the water they swim in, still incredibly relevant. Plus his understanding of incentives and governance.
Leadership is another big one. His ideas seem universal.
Absolutely. His ideal leader, wise, knowledgeable, disciplined, dedicated to the people's welfare, timeless lessons, his emphasis on good advisors, balancing ethics with pragmatism, his own example of selfless service, all fundamental leadership principles, and his mentorship of Chandragupta shows the power of development, vision, in creating leaders.
Even his ethics, though debated, seem relevant to ongoing discussions about power.
His situational ethics, needy, acknowledges the tough choices leaders face, balancing ideals with practical needs for order and security. That tension between morality and necessity is still a central debate in political ethics today. But his core emphasis on the ruler's duty to protect and provide for citizens remains a key ethical principle of good governance.
It truly is remarkable. Chanakya's wisdom, his strategies, they haven't just shaped history, they continue to offer valuable perspectives today. His life, his partnership with Chandragupta, it's just this rich source of enduring lessons in leadership, governance, strategy, ethics. Thank you so much for walking us through all of this. It's been incredibly insightful.
My pleasure entirely. Chanakya's story really is a powerful reminder of what intellect, strategic thinking, and sheer determination can achieve.
And to you, our listeners, we really hope this deep dive into Chanakya's life, his massive role in founding the Mauryan Empire, and the timeless wisdom in his strategies and teachings has been both enlightening and, well, engaging.
We hope so.
Maybe take a moment to think about how relevant his ideas still feel today. Did any specific strategy or maybe that mentorship dynamic with Chandragupta resonate with you? Any incidents or teachings spark a new thought?
We genuinely love to hear your thoughts, your comments on any of the fascinating stories or ideas we covered.
Your perspectives are always valuable. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe with Vibe YouTube channel for more interesting talk shows. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into the life and legacy of Chanakya.